Hey everybody, it's Mallory, your host of the Staredown. I know I missed you last week, but let me tell you, I'm just glad to be back. I hope you're glad to be back with me. So without further ado, sit back, relax, grab a drink or two, and let's listen to the Staredown. All right, so this week's episode is called Back from IR, and I feel like my self-imposed IR assignment was needed. As I stated in my blog post a few weeks ago with the episode 6 blog post, I tested positive for COVID for the first time ever. I'm super thankful for an extremely mild case. It was so mild that I had the sniffles but could still go run 3 miles a day and take the dogs for walks, multiple walks, because we were going stir crazy. So super grateful that it was just mild, but I decided I was going to keep my fellow rebels and all of my family and all of my friends safe. Didn't want to pass it along to anybody just because you don't know how anybody's going to react to it. So we stayed at home for the home opener against Mercer. That was an ass whooping. Sorry, Mercer. I was expecting it to be bad. I wasn't expecting it to be that bad, but proud of my Rebels for that. So get really pumped. I test negative. I can go back to work, but more importantly, I can go to New Orleans for the Ole Miss Tulane game. We're going to ride the train from Birmingham to New Orleans. If you've never ridden the train, first of all, it's fun. You can take your own food and drink. So when I tell you to sit back, relax, and grab a drink or two, you can literally do that on the train. And you don't have to buy it from them. You can bring your own. It's amazing. So we do this. We're going to go down. We're going to kind of party. Not too hard, right? Like, you're on a train. Like, we're not going to try and get that, like, come on, ride that train bumping. Like, we're not doing that kind of train. But it's a super fun time. You don't have to worry about traffic. I mean, you do, but you're not the one driving. So it's not that big of a deal. But it's blast. So we get ready. We're going to go do this. We're packing. Everybody's healthy. Nobody's testing positive. And I get an email from my husband while I'm at work on Tuesday that says, call me. So I call him. And y'all, we live in Alabama. It will be hot until November and possibly even Christmas Day. Like, no joke. Our air conditioner has gone out. Died, kaput. Aaron Hernandez gone forever. Kind of died. It's 90 plus degrees outside. There's no air in our house except hot, stale air. Our house at one point got up to 88 degrees inside. It was awful. So we go through. They can't come put it in until Monday. We have dogs that are long-haired. I'm cranky. Husband's cranky. Everybody's just cranky, right? It's hot and gross. But we decide, screw it, we're going to New Orleans anyway. We do. Thankfully, the air worked on the train. The air worked in the hotel once we got to New Orleans, and we had a blast. And even though the Tulane fans yelled some very not nice things at us, we still had a really good time. Got to see some friends that we haven't seen in a year. Got to make new friends. Shout out to Roz and Jesus. Have another hurricane for us, or we'll just give it to mom, whatever. But yeah, had a blast. So I'm back though, right? And in the chaos of all of my life things, I feel like the chaos of football has been greater. So enough about me and my personal stuff. I'm back. Let's dive right into it. But first I want to dive into, to me, what is the most important story in American sports right now that just kind of has sort of fallen off the radar. And I get it because this season is technically over. But Coco Gauff won it. Y'all, she won the U.S. Open. 19 years old. She won it. I called it in my blog post. I called it here. Everybody was rooting for her. The crowd was on her side. She took down the girl who is now the number one in the world But it didn't matter because on that day, Coco won. And the cool thing about the U.S. Open, the prize money for the women, it's $3 million. Guess what Novak Djokovic got for winning the men's? $3 million. So thank you, U.S. Open, for paying equally. I love it. Coco, you're my girl. I think you're everybody's girl now. But she was phenomenal. If you didn't watch any of it, you should. If you haven't seen the clip of her dancing as an 8-year-old at the U.S. Open, and then it goes into her celebrating the fact that she's now a U.S. Open champion 11 years later, it'll absolutely give you chills. So go check that out. Coco, can't wait to see how many more tournaments you win in the future. I expect more, and I have a feeling we're going to be talking about her more. I have a feeling she's also going to be one of those that fights for equal pay across the board at every tournament. So I'm really excited to see what kind of trails she continues to blaze. She's very thankful for, Billie Jean King and the Williams sisters and everybody else who's come before her. And I think she really understands that responsibility. So it's going to be fun to see her kind of change the world in her own little way. On the men's side, though, Novak Djokovic won. Obviously, we were very disappointed to see TFO go down. But again, I was right. In my blog post, I called it. I said, I think this is Novak's year, and he won it. And what can I say? I know my tennis. No, not really. I think I just got kind of lucky. But I don't even think it was luck. I think it's, if you had paid any kind of attention to tennis, you knew that him losing to Alcaraz in Wimbledon, he wasn't going to end his season on a losing note. So I feel like I don't know that Federer in his heyday could have beaten Novak this year. I mean, Novak just was so dominant the whole tournament. So congrats to both him and Coco for winning it. The majors are done for the year. We have to wait until January for the Australian Open. But I'm excited because at that point, football will be wrapping up. And speaking of football, let's get into that. We've had a lot of chaos. I didn't really get to do a wrap-up of week one just because, y'all, when I tell you earlier that, hot air in your house will make you cranky, I mean, it will make you cranky and miserable, and you can't sleep. And so nobody wanted to listen to me last week. Trust me. I didn't even want to talk. It was that bad. And so for me to not want to talk, it's pretty bad. But enough about all of that. So college football, I think there were a couple of things I was right about. The first one that I feel like I have to pat myself on the back for is that the Pac-12, I said they were going to be the most interesting storyline this year, and so far they have been. I was a little wrong on Colorado and Dion in that I didn't expect them to come out as strong as they did the first 2 weeks. I don't expect a week 3 drop-off, but I really expected that defenses would put up more of a fight than they did. Looking back on the TCU game, I probably should have seen it just because when you really do go back and look and see all of the players that TCU lost from that national runner-up team last year, it was a huge loss for them. And so I think Colorado was primed for it, right? You hear the storyline of, well, there were only 10 players from Colorado's roster that are currently on the roster this year that were from last year. But when you really dive in, that's one story. But the bigger story to me, though, is how many players came with Dion. And so there's a lot to be said about a new head coach, one, getting kids to enter the transfer portal and go with him. He was able to work NIL deals and those kinds of things as they're coming along. He knows what they deserve, what they're capable of. So it's not like he's starting over from scratch or starting over with kids he's never seen before. He knew exactly what holes he needed to fill with kids that had never played for him before. And so I think that was a big leg up that people weren't really thinking about. Obviously their defense, they struggled against TCU. It was a shootout, and it was who was basically going to score last, and that's where it ended up. But I was not as surprised about Nebraska. What I think I was surprised about is when we did our week 2 bets blog on the alabamatake.com. When I went to go check out the line, Colorado was only a 3-point favorite at home against Nebraska. And guys, like, Matt Rule has a bigger challenge ahead of him than Dion has in having to rebuild a program. And so I was like, 3 points, like, are they crazy? I was like, no way. I was like, they are going to destroy them. And I was right. So hopefully, if you did choose one pick to pay attention to on the blog last week, it was that one. And as always, if I won you some money, go check out some Staredown merchandise. I'm going to post a picture of some merchandise that we've recently gotten in so you guys can go see it. So yeah, if you won money, go help a girl out. But no, I think what Dion is doing at Colorado is great. I'll talk about them in just a little bit when I get to this week's games because I think they've got a really good matchup. I think in terms of maybe playing, it's not going to be the best, but we'll get to that in a second. You know, I think the other interesting thing about the Pac-12 is you have Oregon and you've got USC, and they're kind of flying under the radar right now in terms of national media just because Colorado is taking up so much of that space. But I'm interested to see the shootouts that those games are going to be. And what I'm really interested to see is, are they really going to be shootouts? Are we looking at, you know, a 2020 Alabama at Ole Miss where it was, holy crap, are we just going to sit here all night and just go back and forth like a tennis match? Or is the defense going to step up at some point and stop somebody? So I think those are going to be games that you're going to watch to see. Or if it's not a shootout like that, do we end up with, like, we all remember the infamous Alabama LSU 9-3, good grief, field goals only. Like they couldn't get into the end zone if their lives depended on it, that game. So I think it's going to be one of those two things. I don't think you're going to see like a middle of the road type game, but I am kind of interested to watch those. So again, I think Pac-12 is probably right now the most intriguing story of the whole thing. Also, not to mention that in terms of just the conference as a whole, Washington State and Oregon State recently, I think just a couple of days ago, were given a big win in court in that they were able to stop a conference meeting. And it's because of all kinds of like interesting details, like could they basically be giving trade secrets? And is this, you know, you're talking monopolies and those kinds of things. And so I was very interested to see that ruling come out in their favor that no, they cannot all gather. Like the rest of y'all have chosen to leave after this year. You're not going to gather and try and do some more shady shit and just beat them down even more. So good for them. If you can't win by grabbing a hold of a new TV deal, I guess win in court. I don't know. Court cases seem to be the thing this year. It's weird to me. I don't remember there being this many ever in a season, at least not this early on. But hey, maybe it has been, and they're just crazier this year. I don't know. So Pac-12, definitely fun. Texas, y'all. Texas Tech went to Wyoming and lost. That was a fun week 1. I was loving cheering for Wyoming, by the way. But Texas, I think, right now, top to bottom, is solid. They right now could not beat Florida State. I'm saying it. JJ, don't kill me if you hear this, because I think I just probably put some bad juju on your team. But if that's who they had to play today, I think Florida State would beat Texas. But Texas, from top to bottom, like I said, one of the most solid teams out there. Going into Bama was obviously fired up. You know, good showing, great showing from Jalen. Week 1, I wasn't maybe as sold on Jalen as others were. My friend Tim was also not as sold on Jalen after week 1. I just felt like he was a little bland. I couldn't figure out if that was just the play calling or if that was just him. I think we figured out during the Texas game, it is him. I just don't think he has that spark that the offense need. At this point, I think he has the ability to have it, but he's going to have to find it fast because SEC schedule starts next week. So it's going to come fast and furious, and it's going to be Texas every single week. So I'm interested to watch how Bama reacts. Of course, though, they will do the most Bama thing ever and now go play lights out. And of course, Ole Miss, we get them next week to open SEC play, and they'll probably just beat the ever-loving crap out of us. But hey, there's always a chance, I guess. But no, back to the original statement, though. Texas is the real deal. I was kind of right on that. Again, kind of right on the Texas Tech thing so far. So we're going to see how that plays out. Florida State, mentioned them a little bit. They're good. They're really good. I called it. They beat LSU. And y'all, they didn't just beat LSU. They stomped LSU. LSU didn't show up in the second half. That was not the same game in the second half that we watched in the first half. That was a completely different LSU team, but that was the same Florida State team. And Florida State has more depth. They are more mature, and they are going to run the table in the ACC. I did say that I was very interested to watch, the Clemson-Florida State game. That's also next week, week 4. I'm not as worried for Florida State. Obviously, you're going to go into a rivalry game, though, and Clemson will use it as that. But Clemson is not, they're not good, y'all. Sorry. I like Dabo, but they're not good. So Florida State's good. They're real. Right now, I would say they're probably the number 1 team in the nation. I think that where I was a little bit wrong on all of this is that there is Florida State in the ACC, and then there's truly everybody else, and that gap is widening. Now, I will say this. Miami had a great showing against Texas A&M. We're going to get to Texas A&M in a minute. But, yeah, I think Florida State, real deal. To me, they're the best team in the country right now. You can debate me on it. I just don't think that they have sputtered out of the gate like others. Looking at you, Georgia. Sorry, Earl. Sorry, Camille. But Georgia's going to be fine. But Florida State, if they keep firing on all cylinders like they are, y'all, they're going to be insanely hard to beat. And that's going to be a huge boost for them as they do try and find a new home. So does that intrigue the SEC, or does that turn the SEC off? I'm not sure. So I think that Florida State having a really good year is going to be the next domino that's going to fall in the realignment world. So, Clemson. Let's talk here a little bit. Dabo, I like you, man. I have no idea what your comments after game 1 were about, but I have very little confidence in you right now. And you becoming the next head coach of Bama, I think the chances of that happening are diminishing, which is kind of sad because I think you would be very good. But that was also pre-NIL, pre-transfer portal that I used to say that. So I'm interested to see, though, if Clemson can bounce back. I think they can. The talent is there. You guys, look, last year, their receivers are amazing. But they've got to have the ball thrown to them. There's got to be more confidence from their quarterback. So Clemson's not out of it yet. I still think they may end up facing Florida State for the ACC championship game, but it's not going to be, it's going to be like Georgia LSU in the SEC last year, where hooray, LSU made it, but Georgia just kind of ran them over. So interesting to watch the ACC a little bit to see kind of how the rest of that plays out. All right, now Texas A&M, the last thing that we're going to talk about in terms of where we're kind of out in the season. I was right about Texas A&M. Jimbo, I got news for you. If you think that they were clapping and that's what was causing everything to go wrong, buddy, you may as well just go on down to U-Haul, start buying those boxes and packing up your house. If you don't need all of them, U-Haul will buy your unused boxes back. That's why I'm telling you, go to U-Haul, because you're not going to have a job. I did go check your schedule. Thankfully for you, or not thankfully for you, you don't play Mississippi State in Starkville. I was really kind of hoping that you did, but you don't, because I could not wait to hear the excuse about the cowbells being the reason that you guys sputter against Mississippi State. But sadly, that's not going to happen. I will tell you, though, when you come to Ole Miss, sitting in field club, don't for a second think that I am above standing right on the field and clapping and yelling. I mean, that's not really unusual for me, but I'll be doing it extra loudly and annoying just because I think it's funny. And I just don't like you. You're kind of icky. So I'm sure you're a nice person in real life. Well, I don't even know that. So I told you guys, I'm just kind of letting it all loose this week. So yeah, that's it. I just don't like Jimbo. Jimbo, I can't wait to welcome you to Oxford. I'm going to be as annoying as I can be. And I have a feeling I'm going to have about 65,000 other fans doing it with me. And we're small. So good luck going into stadiums bigger than ours if you think that some clapping was the reason y'all lost. All right, enough about him. He's not worth it. So, big games this week. Just a couple. I don't really think there are a ton of big games that I'm really going to watch. Obviously, let's start with the SEC. LSU, I expect them to come out strong against Mississippi State. Mississippi State had to go to overtime with Arizona last week, but I don't think that that's a bad thing for State. I think Arizona is a good team. I think State can learn a lot from it. So I do expect LSU State to be a really good game. I just expect LSU to try and make a statement since they decided not to show up for the second half of the Florida State game 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to take LSU in that one. Also, Tennessee, Florida. You know, I keep seeing all these articles. Could Florida pull the upset? Could Florida pull the upset? Well, guys, y'all all thought that Tulane was going to pull the upset on Ole Miss last week. And don't get me wrong. I was scared. The first half, I was scared. And then we only let them score 3 points in the second half. And I sort of felt better. I mean, I'm an Ole Miss fan, so I don't ever really feel great. But there's no way Florida upsets Tennessee this week, y'all. They just don't. There's no way. If you watched Florida at all the last few weeks, they're middle of the SEC. They don't want to be middle of the SEC, but the reality is they are. And Tennessee is a step, maybe even two above them right now. So, sorry, no upset here. Tennessee's gonna go into the swamp and I think make a statement. And then we started with them, so let's wrap up with them. But Colorado, man, Norvell. First of all, Mike Norvell, I'm glad you're not related to him. I'm glad he's not like your brother. But dude, don't make a comment about your mom taught you to take your sunglasses and your hat off when you're talking to somebody. Really? First of all, let's be honest, it was kind of a low and bitchy comment. I mean, it just was. I didn't like it. It could be perceived in ways that I don't think you want it to be perceived. So just don't say it. But second of all, really, you're outside. Like, and I know you're not talking about him being outside and on the field and having on a hat and sunglasses. I know you're talking about him being, like, in press conferences and stuff, but it's style. Have you ever heard of it? Plus, dude, he's Neon Dion. Like, come on. And finally, like, why? Why would you give him and give Colorado any bulletin board material? Has no coach learned? No coach learned. Listen to Lane Kiffin. Words I never thought I would say, but here I am as an Ole Miss fan in 2023. He learned from Nick Saban, rat poison. It is rat poison. You just fed your entire team rat poison. You gave them the spark they didn't need. They're hosting game day. They are turning this program around early on and truly actually like turning it around. Like, I don't think this is a fluke. And you just handed them that. Boy, y'all gonna get your asses just wiped on that field. And I'm sorry. And you know what? When you go back into that locker room, you need to take your hat and your sunglasses off and you need to look every child in their eyes and apologize. And you need to do the same to your assistant coaches. And you need to go stand in the mirror, again, hat still off, sunglasses off, and you need to say, I am the reason this ass whooping took place. So, that's all I'm going to say about college football. We've got a lot more to cover with the NFL and then the big stuff I really want to talk about. So hang tight. We'll be right back. And we're back. Hopefully you did what I did and went and got a refill because I'll be honest, NFL, I love it, right? It's football. I love the NFL. I love watching all of my favorite college players. Shout out to A.J. Brown, Dawson Knox, DK Metcalf, and every other Ole Miss player that's ever played. Evan Ingram. I mean, I'm telling y'all, go just look at my fantasy football rosters and you'll see. They probably play. Ooh, Elijah Moore. Can't forget him. He's now with Cleveland. And Cleveland actually has a quarterback. So we're going to see how that plays out. But yes, I love the NFL. I love watching all these guys go. But the NFL is exactly what, to me, professional sports should be. It is high quality, week in, week out. It is truly anyone can beat anyone. And I think we saw that in week 1. So I don't really want to dive too deep into this because I think we're going to have enough time over the upcoming weeks to talk a lot about it. And I don't want to skip over the stuff that I feel is super, super important that I want to cover today. So I'm going to touch on NFL a little bit and then we're going to dive into some heavy stuff. So like I said, hope you've got a refill. Hope it is of the adult variety if you were old enough to drink the adult variety because y'all may need it. Mama got spicy during her IR time. So, all right, week 1, NFL, obviously. Aaron Rodgers, 4 snaps in. Bye-bye Achilles. Bye-bye his season. Bye-bye first-round pick, Green Bay. You don't get the first-round pick from the Jets because he didn't play 65% of the snaps. Aaron Rodgers just is the gift that keeps on pissing you off. I know, I'm sorry. I also kind of feel like it's a little bit of the universe paying you back because Brett Favre was kind of a shitty human being. So, yeah. Anyway, for all of my Green Bay fan friends out there, though, I think you're off running in great hands. If you read my blog, I said that the Bears were going to beat the Packers. Real sorry about that. I unfortunately believe the Bears hype, but I promise this is coming back to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I think Jordan Love's good for you guys. I think he really, honestly is. So, let's go back to the Aaron Rodgers thing, though. But I don't really want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. I want to talk about Zach Wilson. He looked terrifying, y'all. I was watching the Manning cast, and Peyton and Eli's expressions and how different they are cracked me up. Eli's like, it's the Eli look. I'll post it on the blog. You all know what I'm talking about, though. If you've ever watched Eli, he just looks like he's lost or confused or dazed and confused. Like he and Matthew McConaughey could be some really good friends, along with Snoop, that kind of thing. But Peyton is super animated, so I thought it was really fun. Like when they would zoom in on Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson just looks scared, and then Peyton and Eli are trying to figure out what's wrong with Aaron Rodgers. Like it was just one of those moments where you're like, this is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen, without it being like funny because someone's like truly, truly hurt. But it was just kind of funny in its own little way. But Zach Wilson, I think watching Hard Knocks, we realized that he was like, oh, I'm embracing this backup role. Like I'm actually really excited that I'm not going to get hit really, really hard every week. That O-line is going to not be the ones that disappoint me. They're going to disappoint Aaron. And then they disappointed him super early. And so sorry, Zach, they're going to disappoint you as well. I apologize. I laughed out loud. Not at your expense, just at your expression. But the bright spot in the Jets game was Xavier Gipson. He stole my heart completely on Hard Knocks. He was one of those that I just knew it was going to be one of those stories that just like ripped my heart out when they cut him undrafted out of SFA. And so I was so happy when they kept him. And then for him to be the one to take the punt back for a touchdown and win it in overtime against the Bills was kind of incredible. The Bills are going to be fine. You can't have 4 turnovers and expect to win, especially on the road with a crowd that even when Rodgers went out, I mean, they still stayed fired up. And that Jets defense is for real, y'all. But they're going to have to be able to score points, and I think that's where I'm a little worried. So I think the Jets, keep Xavier, Gibson, and all of your special teams guys healthy. Keep your defensive guys healthy. They'll win you some games. It's not going to be the same without Aaron, though. But the Bills, just don't turn it over. You'll be fine. Your defense was still really good. So I'm not worried about the Bills. Kansas City, another team I'm not worried about. They get Kelsey back this week. They're fine. Dallas, this was my heartbreaker of the week. My G-men. Y'all, I don't know why we're still paying the penance for sitting Eli and not starting him his last few games in New York City. But whatever sacrifice I need to make to the football gods for us to be better, I will. I think Eli would even do so at this point. But y'all, that was bad. That was so bad. That was so, so, so bad. And I don't know, are the Cowboys that good? Or are the Giants just that bad? I'm going to take the optimistic Giants road on this and go, it's somewhere in the middle. I'm not going delusional. Delusional would be, no, we just had a bad game. No, y'all, we did not have a bad game. Like, we were bad. But I just don't know that the Cowboys are that good. I mean, Dak, don't get me wrong, Dak's a great quarterback. Dak's a good quarterback. Great gets saved for Peyton and, honestly, Eli in Super Bowls against the Patriots and John Elway and Joe Montana and those guys, Tom Brady. Yeah, even Brady. But great does not get used for Dak. So Dak's good. He's done well up until the playoffs. So I just don't think that the Cowboys are that good. I don't think the Giants are that bad. I think it's somewhere in the middle for both of them. But it is what it is. I also said early on, I'm sorry. I believe the Bears hype. I'm real sorry. Sorry, Green Bay. Sorry, Jordan Love. I should have probably trusted you a little bit more. I think you have gone through a bunch of trauma in Green Bay, and I think that's made you a lot stronger than anyone has realized. So good for y'all. I think y'all go into Atlanta this week and take care of business. I also think that Jacksonville is going to win the AFC South. Y'all, Indianapolis, and they're bad. They're real bad, too. Houston's not as bad. I think it's going to be a fight to the bottom between Houston and Indy. And then Tennessee, Tannehill's not it. Like, why can we not figure this out by now? Tannehill is not your quarterback. And poor Derrick Henry, I don't know how many more years he's got. This may be it. I hope it's not. I really like him, but y'all can't keep using him like that kind of workhorse and expect him to be okay. But yeah, I think Jacksonville, to me, such an improved team. I was happy to see that for them. I do love Evan Ingram. I do think that, I don't know. Maybe, football gods, can we transfer the weird curse that the Giants have down to Jacksonville? I mean, they did hire Urban Meyer. Let's remember this. They hired Urban Meyer to be their head coach. And Trevor Lawrence, he's good. I like him. But God, I just really need somebody to pay some penance for Urban Meyer at this point. But otherwise, Jacksonville, they'll be good. Miami was a good surprise. A little bit. Not just because, I don't think it was a surprise as much. It was just, they haven't really had anything splashy. And I think for me, I was kind of a little concerned. And so maybe I just didn't really want to think about them because I was like, please, God, let Tua be able to walk after the season. And I don't say that jokingly. Like, that man had some crazy head injuries, and that is not something you play around with, not to the level that his were. And so for him to be back out there, I am super impressed. Kid's a warrior. Everybody's a kid, right? Like, well, Aaron Rodgers is not a kid. He's now an old man who needs his Achilles repaired. But, you know, these are still guys in their 20s, and so I just don't want to see anybody get hurt. And so watching Tua last year go through what he went through, I'm glad to see him back out there. I think they are in a good spot. I think they've got a good coaching staff. I think they've got a good system. And so I'm interested to watch them, and I think that they're going to be the ones that give Buffalo a run for their money in the AFC East. I think Buffalo's not going to be able to really kind of coast, because I think, and not that Buffalo has coasted, the last couple of years, but I think that's what has kind of hurt them when it goes into the playoffs. They haven't really been challenged very much within their own division, and now they're going to be. So AFC East, if you guys want to have another Super Bowl winner, I think it's going to be because you're going to have, Miami giving Buffalo a run for their money. And that's all I got to say about the NFL. Like I said, we'll talk more about it in the upcoming weeks, but I don't want to keep you guys here all day or all night or whenever it is you're listening to this, because this is what I've been waiting for. And I am very passionate about this. I am going through all kinds of emotions. I have gone through a lot of emotions of, how do I even talk about this? How do I bring it up? I want to do it the right way. I don't want things to turn political when they don't need to. I don't want things to turn right versus left when they don't need to. I just want to put out there the truth as I see it, the world as I see it, and it's a very delicate subject. I understand not everybody is going to agree with me. Not everyone is going to like what I have to say. Some people may even wish that I probably go a little bit harder. But after conversations with people that I really do love and really do trust, I mentioned that earlier, I feel the need to finally step up and say something. This is so hard because football is a game that I love so much for so many reasons, and it's actually something we're really going to dive into next week. Next week's actually going to be a good episode, so I hope you guys don't not listen to me next week because of this, but I don't feel like I can do next week's episode unless I do talk about this kind of stuff. The game of football is my safe space. It is a safe space for so many. It is an outlet to get out aggression within a controlled space with rules and it be okay. It is a space that provides opportunities where opportunities may not be given to those who are participating. It is a way out of bad situations, whether that be economically or a home life. And I don't mean what most people are thinking of in terms of a home life. I mean even like nice middle class, what you think of everyday Americans. Parents are struggling, whatever. Like, football is an outlet for so many people, and everyone has their reason for it. The same way that everyone has their reason for listening to the music they listen to or whatever exercise they do. Like me personally, I run. I have my reasons for it. It's my space. It's where I can go. Some people may do yoga. Others play football. A lot of young men in this country play football. It is their safe space. And the things that I have seen from fans the last few weeks has, I don't want to say almost ruined it for me, because my love runs so deep. But it has not been easy to watch some of this stuff. And I'm not saying that it wasn't there before. It absolutely was. I think we are in the age we are in now where Snapchat and TikTok and everything is out there and you can capture everything. And, we always say it, thank God, when we were doing this stupid shit when we were their age, thank God there weren't cameras that could capture it. But that's not the case now. And cameras are capturing it. And it's hard to watch. So, I'm going to start with the thing that I saw firsthand. And I'm going to call out my Ole Miss family. The behavior and the things that I heard being yelled were beyond disgusting. I had to yell at my own fans. Like, we're all supposed to be cheering for the same team, right? But when I hear the people cheering for Ole Miss and for Ole Miss players to break the knee of a Tulane player, I cannot sit by. I can't. I cannot sit there and listen to us act like we are back in the time of the Romans watching Gladiator. Do we want these kids to jump up and yell at us? Are you not entertained? Because that's how we act. It is one thing to say, hit him, tackle him, would you stop him? Come on, you can do it. There's so many other things to say. Break his knee? Kill him? Make sure he doesn't get up? That's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. You cannot and should not ever wish harm on another human being. Not in that setting. Like I said, there are other things here that could get political, and I'm not going there. I am strictly talking football. And I think what made it worse was we were in a stadium that was new and nice and hot as hell. Made our house look really cool, actually. Made it feel like it was really cool. But we were in such a small stadium, and Ole Miss was allotted so few tickets because of the size of the stadium that if you had bought your tickets through the university, chances were if you were loud enough, you were within earshot of an Ole Miss player's family, or maybe even a Tulane player's family. I don't know about the Tulane players' families, but I do know I saw Ole Miss players' families. And I have to think, how would they feel going to Bama, going to Auburn, going to Texas A&M, going to Vanderbilt, going anywhere, hell, going to Tulane, and hearing some stranger who doesn't know them or their child who is playing, hear a stranger yelling for another child to break their child's knee, or to kill him, or to make it so he doesn't walk again, or make it so he doesn't get up off the ground. Are you fucking kidding me? Unacceptable. That is a human being underneath that jersey. That is a human being wearing that helmet. That is a human being being tackled and a human being doing the tackling. It is a game. And like I said, it is a game of so many possibilities, but at the end of the day, it is a game. I cannot sit idly by and listen anymore. And trust me, I've even felt the hypocritical side of this because I am the girl who people look at me like I have 3 eyeballs and like 5 arms and a tail and scales and everything because I am like yelling and I am intense, and I'm sure it sounds kind of scary, but like, come on, like I try to yell, come on, hit him, you got this, like, come on defense, like, let's go. Like on offense, when we're on offense, I'm quiet, right? Like quiet, let my offense go do what they're going to do. They need to hear each other. But like when my defense is out there, man, hit him hard, hit him, you got this, stop him, like, That's fine. I was even so loud that an Ole Miss fan came up the stairs and high-fived me and said, that's the kind of energy we need. We need that down on the field, and they need to hear it down on the field. I pride myself on that. And yeah, I pride myself on that. Because at the end of the day, even if a kid makes a mistake in a game, think about what I just said. If a kid makes a mistake in a game, it is okay. It's okay. Because I'm going to get to walk out of the stadium and I'm going to get to go live my life. And I want that kid to be able to know that in life, it's okay to make a mistake, to learn from it, and to move on. I get that grace every single day in my job, in my marriage, in my friendships, in my relationships with my parents and my family members. I get that grace. So why can't I extend that to a child that I've never met, but that we share a common thread of Ole Miss? That's fine. On that flip side, just because a child may not be wearing an Ole Miss jersey does not mean he is not still a child that needs to understand that it's okay to make a mistake and to be given some grace. But us yelling for him to be permanently maimed or to be injured and his quality of life be taken away from him in any capacity, even if it is a torn Achilles and it's, surgery or a sprained knee or anything like that, that's not okay for us as fans to yell. That kid on that field has a beating heart, has a brain that thinks, and has feelings. And beyond that, that kid has a family that they get to define what family is. They have friends, they have loved ones, they have partners, they have someone who loves them. And I would never want any of my loved ones to be sitting in the stands and have to listen to someone yell for me to have my knee broken because I'm wearing a different jersey than what they are. Unacceptable. Take it down a notch. If you haven't figured it out by now, college football is, like I said, I get a little passionate. I love it. But at the end of the day, it's still just a game, y'all. It is not that serious. It is just not that serious. So, as I said before, family is who you choose, right? Kids are born into every type of situation in the world, and they can't help that. But these kids playing football, I applaud every single one of them. Actually, I applaud every single student athlete within the NCAA at whatever level it is right now, because they have gone and done the thing that they love, and they are bettering themselves. It's supposed to be student athletes. If you've listened to previous episodes, you understand my feelings on that, but there are kids going to school and they are using this opportunity to truly get the education to better themselves. The second thing I saw last weekend that disgusted me were the Bama fans. I hope and pray, and I'm not a very religious person, so that someone sat those students down and told them that yelling a homophobic slur towards the Texas players and telling them to go back to the projects is not okay. Now, I did kind of hear something that made me laugh, but it made me laugh because it's true. Earl's brother told him that what those Texas players should have done was turn around and said, hey, we'll go back to the projects if you'll go back to the trailer park that you came from that we passed on our way to the stadium. talk about hypocrisy. As Alabamians and as Southerners, our whole lives, we want to be like, we're not all trailer park trash. We're not all this, we're not all that. But by God, we'll be the first ones to yell that. And I think that's human nature, right? Like we go there when we're upset and we let emotions get the best of us. We're hurt for whatever that reason is, and we want to hurt them. Those Texas players were doing nothing wrong. Dancing, celebrating, good for them. Trust me, I wouldn't want to watch the Texas players celebrate if I were a Bama fan, but what can I do about it? Nothing. And stooping to that level and saying what those students said, when I first saw it, I thought, oh my God, what is happening? And then I thought back to the Ole Miss fans yelling, break their knees. Y'all, those students learned that somewhere. Can we not do better than this? Can we not? And what really killed me about the Bama students were it was like they'd said it a million times, which is, I don't know that I have words for how horrible that makes me feel. But it wasn't something that was the first time that they'd ever said. And then I started thinking, if they'll say that when they have on the jersey, what would they say to them when they don't have on the jersey and they can't figure out who they are? Is that just another thug? Is that just another, like they called them, kid from the projects? Is that just someone who's beneath them because of the color of their skin? And I'm pretty sure it is. But what's really disgusting about the whole thing is that good and well that if Derrick Henry, or we'll go with the current player, Jalen Milroe, were on campus and they saw him, they would run up to him. Oh, Jalen, man, you're the best. Da 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 da. Can I get your picture? Like, they're not gonna call him the F word and tell him to go back to the projects. Not to his face. So why the hell do they feel like they can do it to the team that just beat theirs? Again, y'all, it's a game. It's a game. And it just hurts. And it makes me sick because I miss the days of watching my favorite players go down the Walk of Champions and, Dad, there's Deuce McAllister, or Chris Collins, or Tay Biddle, or Eric Oliver, or Doug Ziegler, or Eli, Amzie Williams, Corey Peterson. It doesn't matter. I love them. You know why I love them? They're Ole Miss. I did not care. I didn't care. And I'm so sad to know, and I get it, right? Every fan base has them. Hell, I just told on my own fan base. But y'all, when I'm hearing that more than I'm hearing kids being able to be like, Dad or Mom, or best friend's dad or mom, whatever, hey, adult, that's my favorite player. I can't get past the fact that I don't hear it anymore. And it could be that I don't have kids, but I shouldn't be around enough adults that I'm not allowed to hear the kids' excitement, that I'm not allowed to experience that. But more importantly, as adults, we should be setting that impression. I should be turning to my husband, Cody. Cody. There's Eli Acker. Cody. There's Suntarine. Cody. There's Caden. Cody. There's Lane Given. There's Coach Joyner. There's Blair. There's Maddie. There's whoever, it does, like, I should just be like, I am so excited to see people doing what they love, players doing what they love, and I should get excited for that, and I should be there to want to cheer them on. And that's ultimately what I want to get towards. I want to talk more about it because we're not going to change it. I'm not single-handedly going to change it. But what I am going to do is make sure that I do continually, and not in a hostile way, right? Just, hey, remember, that's someone's kid out there. Like, I get it. You're fired up. Bring it down a notch. Like, let's just all be here and enjoy it. That's what I've got to learn to step up and say, instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to sit here and, well, I'm just going to try and be louder than him. No, I'm now going to start calling those dudes out. No, that's a child. Stop it. Just enjoy the game. And on that note, I'm going to take Earl's advice because my blood pressure is up and I am really fired up. And I still want this to be a fun place where we can come and talk about sports. But sports cannot be fun if we continue to allow the actions and irresponsibility of others to ruin it, and to ruin it for the families, and to ruin it for the players, and to ruin it for the next generation. We cannot allow that to happen. We can't. At the end of the day, as I've said before, and you may get tired of hearing it, and I don't really care, that is a human being wearing a jersey with thoughts and feelings and emotions and life troubles and friends and probably family drama and friend drama and partner drama, but also people who love them. And they're just trying to get through this life and enjoy it the best they can. And in the meantime, if we can't support them in that and support them in that endeavor and provide a space for them to come and play whatever sport it is, what are we doing? What are we doing with our lives? It's not worth it, y'all. It's not that deep. But I'm also not going to let it become deeper and become a bigger issue for those athletes and those coaches and support staff that are trying to create those spaces. So I'm now going to get off my soapbox. Thank you for hanging in with me during the unexpected break. I think we'll be pretty good moving forward. I hope. Let's hope no more crazy COVID or flu or anything that's happening. Go get your vaccines if you can. Be nice. Wash your hands. All those things. Just be a good human to your other fellow humans. And on that note, sit back, relax, grab a drink or two, maybe take a deep breath or two, enjoy your favorite team and your favorite sport, and listen to the Staredown. I'll see y'all next week. Hotty toddy.